For Module 5, we're starting off our deep dive into specific roles involved in the PDLC by starting off with product managers. Product managers have a crucial role in getting a company's software planned and shipped out of the door. They act kind of like a mini coach for the functional project team of around 5 to 8 people, usually. Could be more, could be less. And those people will consist of maybe a handful of developers, a UX designer or two, maybe a researcher, maybe a scrum master. And they do act like a coach, but they have many responsibilities that go beyond this slide. But at a high level, they decide what the rest of the team works on. And they take into account variables like what new improvements are going to be the most lucrative for the company, or maybe have the most cost savings for the company, or perhaps open up new streams of revenue or new lines of business. Figuring out what to build is a whole field of study on its own. So we won't dive into those methods in our course. But once they do have an idea of what those things should be, then they work with their colleagues to design out the features, schedule it out over the coming weeks and months, figure out how much effort it's going to take, etc. One of the biggest influencers, if not probably the biggest one, on the decisions that a product manager makes is the customer themselves, whether they're existing customers or potential customers. So in doing so, they have to know the many avenues to solicit that feedback, like one-on-one interviews or conferences, and they may delegate other people like user researchers or UX designers to go and maybe actually get the feedback physically from the customer. But the product manager is the one who knows if we need more say from the user or from the customer in order to validate an idea. Product managers also rely on something called product analytics. Product analytics are some kind of tool or integration that gets hooked up to the back end of your software, and it tracks how user behavior or demographics shape up. So, where users click, where they go within your site, what are the common paths that they take, how long do they stay on your site, or how long do they stay on a certain page, where do they abandon certain workflows, or where do they leave your product altogether. Here's a screenshot of the way that these analytics might be displayed to product management teams. And then from here, you would work to translate what you're seeing into trends that you can actually work on. So if you're noticing that after you rolled out a certain feature, user interaction with that feature really declined, that might tell you an insight of, hey, I need to look into why that might be. There may be something wrong with the way that we added requirements for that feature or that we designed it. So the product analytics are just going to provide raw data. The product managers and the UX team and the developers and everyone that works together is going to have to figure out what is the data telling us in terms of what we should do. So, for example, what might you do with some of these insights? Your analytics can help you understand something like 72% of those who use the new quick checkout complete their purchase compared to only 45% of users who use the standard checkout. That might be an opportunity to really enhance the quick checkout experience and slowly start to abandon or phase out the standard checkout experience because the conversion rate is lower. Or you may learn that 64% of mobile app users abandon the app after reaching the advanced settings menu. This is a clear opportunity to look at that menu, see where it could be more usable, more intuitive, more delightful, and incorporate those features. Or maybe you would discover that 48% of your premium subscription users access customer support more than twice a month, but only 15% of basic tier users do. So, in other words, accessing customer support is a really expensive thing for a company to have to pay for because they have to pay all of those support people. And so, if I were this product manager, I would try to figure out what are premium subscription users accessing customer support for and try to specifically work on the things that are tripping them up or making them have errors to where they're accessing customer support, because the basic tier users aren't having nearly as many problems that they can't solve themselves, and essentially that they don't have to escalate to customer support. But probably the biggest part of your job as a product manager is talking to other people. You will have downtime to analyze and do research and write user stories and work on your plans, but your main task is actually getting feedback via written and verbal channels. So, the basic technical communication principles that we covered in Unit 2 and also the principles that are taught in other technical communication courses are actually crucial in getting your ideas across and cutting out the noise in your message and being clear and persuasive. Another topic I want to go over is that of feature creep. As I mentioned, they hear all these avenues of feedback and ideas and ways to improve the product. And it might be easy to think, well, let's just add all those ideas in and make everybody happy. Feature creep is a term that refers to the gradual addition of new features or changes to a product or project beyond its original purpose. It happens especially as extra features or little things are added in over time, hence the creep part of this term. It tends to happen gradually without anyone really realizing that it's going on. Why is feature creep a bad thing? Well, as features pile up, the product becomes more cluttered and less intuitive, making its users struggle to navigate all the options, which leads to frustration. Because of that, the complexity and the usability both suffer. Additionally, performance takes a hit. Extra features can slow down the product, causing it to perform poorly or become buggy or just take longer to load all the pages. Also, when there's diluted focus for the app, it loses its core purpose, becoming less effective at solving the original problem that it set out to solve. And the cost of developing and maintaining these unneeded features means that the additional cost of developing and maintaining these features means that they're making less profit overall as a company. And finally, delayed releases, withholding the releases of what's actually needed because you were waiting on features to be ready. The Cheesecake Factory's menu is huge. There are dozens of pages covering everything from pasta to sushi to tacos to omelets. And sure, there's something for everyone, but the overwhelming choice can make it hard to decide. Cheesecake Factory is probably fine, but just hypothetically to prove the point, they're not as good at creating any of those dishes than a restaurant that specializes in just a subset of those dishes. For example, a Michelin rated specialty restaurant, by contrast, they offer a very focused menu. Maybe there's 5 entrees overall with a very cohesive style, allowing the chef to refine each one to perfection. In the same way, feature creep turns a sleek, high quality product into potentially a sprawling, unfocused experience. One of the most important job duties of a product manager is creating what is known as a product roadmap. A product roadmap is like a big picture plan for the product. It maps, quote unquote, along, let's say, 1 year, though roadmaps can come in all kinds of scales and granularities. It could be 6 months, it could be 5 years, but let's just go with 1 year. And in that map, it says what features or improvements you want to build, why you're building them, and when you hope to do it. It's not every tiny little task. That's more like a to-do list. But really it shows it's a guide, but really it's a guide that shows where the product is headed over the next few months or years. So just like a vacation plan might change if the weather shifts, a product roadmap can change if customer needs or market conditions or company priorities change. Its main purpose is to help everyone, like the designers, the developers, the marketers, sales team, stay aligned on what's coming next and why. Here's an example of a roadmap on this slide. On the very left, we have 5 milestones or the high level goals that the company wants to achieve. And these are high level themes of the actual work that the tech teams will work on. So for self service, you can see that in Q1, they're going to start and complete 2 factor authentication. And they're also going to start language localization, but they won't complete that until halfway into Q2. The items on the roadmap show not only how long the tech teams think it will take to deliver, and this is why, for example, 2 factor authentication is a smaller bar than language localization. After learning what the feature is and researching it, the tech teams provide an estimate of how long they think it will take to start and complete each initiative. And then the product team then uses that estimate to place it on this view of an entire year. A successful product manager needs a diverse mix of skills to guide a product from concept to launch. So, communication is key. They must clearly convey ideas, requirements, and feedback. They also need to have strong analytical abilities that help them interpret data and understand the significance to make informed decisions based on that data. They also need to have a solid technical understanding of tech, development strategies that allow them to really grasp the constraints and possibilities from the tech team. They also have to be strategic, defining a vision that meets business and financial goals while also driving innovation and driving user engagement. They also have to have effective project management skills like ensuring that timelines are met, that people and budgets stay on track, but they also have to be adaptable enough to allow them to adjust plans when certain things change, like we said earlier, market conditions, company priorities, the size of your team, etc. But finally, leadership is essential for moving teams to work together toward a common goal. Also, a successful product manager has challenges. They need knowledge of many topics like finance, business development, design, and also broader industry trends. Let's say you work on a tool that is for the hospitality industry. In addition to just the role of product management and the role of getting software out the door, you also have to know about the hospitality industry in that case. They carry a high level of accountability, often being the one responsible for both the success and failure of projects. And their role involves working with many stakeholders who often have competing needs that the product manager has to balance. Sometimes these competing needs come with frustration or urgency. For example, someone says, "Hey, this customer is going to leave if we don't give them X, Y, or Z." And you've got another person say, "Well, I've got another customer who wants to leave if we don't give them X, Y, or Z." And so you have to balance those and figure out what to actually do in that scenario. On top of that, they juggle numerous tasks like finding time to write out these plans and requirements and roadmaps. They must also make trade offs, deciding what to invest in to achieve the greatest return on their investment. And all of this happens while keeping up with rapid changes in technology and user expectations and market demands. But perhaps more than any other role that works directly on the product itself in a day to day fashion, product managers are truly a blended role where they're part contributing team member, working with the team to solve day to day problems, working with the developers and the designers, but they also have to balance those day to day problem solving skills with a high level strategy skill set where they can look really big picture, but then jump into a meeting where we're solving the problem of the day. And finally, they have to have motivational skills. They have to be able to lead the team when there are setbacks, when there are challenges, when there's negative feedback, when there's tight deadlines. So they're the people that have to kind of rally the team together and make sure that morale stays high. We'll end with a quote that references one of the first talking points we started with, which is that the product manager is really like a mini coach for the team. They straddle this line between contributing to the project in the same way that everybody else does, but also having a level of authority, not really from an HR sense, but in terms of what are the goals of the project and what are we trying to do. Thank you so much and take care.